Hello everyone, this is Don again with the update on the W.A.R Corsair project. It's been a couple weeks since I've done one. 2 weeks ago I'd mentioned that 3 weeks ago I guess I was mentioned that I was going to be taking the airplane up to the Erie Airport, put it on a static display for the EAA chapter, which I did. I got it up there and back without any incidences. I spent like all day Saturday preparing my trailer to haul the plane. I've hauled the plane on it before, but it wasn't in this shape, you know, it was just the box and stuff. So I had to get some new ramps and stuff for the plane, ramps and a winch, and spent all day working on the trailer. Had to move the tail lights and such. So, and then Sunday, it was a matter of just prepping the plane, getting it ready to load up, take it into the airport. One thing I did do is, as you can see, got the instrument panel. It's kind of just temporarily tacked into place, just so when we had it up at the airport, they could take a look at it. I got an old towel in here, but it kind of rained while this has been sitting outside. I had to move it outside. It's real dirty because I've been doing another project inside. A couple weeks ago, I guess about 3 weeks ago, after I went to the airport, I took and bought me a Logan Lathe. It's a 10 by 24 Logan model 820. It's a 10-inch swing, 24-inch between centers. And when I got this thing, these are the cast iron legs. Everything's cast iron. These things were in miserable shape. It must have sat in like 4 inches, 5 inches of water for years because they were so corroded and terrible. The bolts were just rotted away to nothing, and I finally had to drill them, grind them, and got them out, cleaned them up with a tap, and turns out they were a 9/16 hole. So I was able to save the threads. And as you can see, these are all the parts that I'd spent the last 2 weeks cleaning. This is aluminum. Everything else is cast iron. And it's a quick change gearbox, the mounts for the motor, the feet for the bed, bearing seal for the spindle head. There's the 2 pieces for the apron, more adjustments for belt tensioners and such, little handles for the some of the handles for the crank levers on the gearbox there, the apron, the bottom of the main bedway, the cross slide, the compound, everything. So, and the spindle head itself. And this uses what they call a peg leg that supports the motor assembly. Now the bed is down here. I'd pressure washed it, but I still need to give it a little better cleaning, and then I'll tape it up, prep it for paint. And then there's the chip pan. That thing's like, oh god, over 4 foot, almost 5 foot long. There's extra holes in here. These 3 down here I'm going to weld up. These 2, these 3 here I'm going to weld up. And then I'll give her another. I had cleaned all the paint off of it. It's just got some surface rust on it from setting, but I'm going to give her one final cleaning and then paint that up. So, and then the rest of everything else. I also bought a Harbor Freight sandblasting cabinet. Like always, I'm never happy with original stuff, so I modified it to be a siphon feed. There's a little plug up here that I drilled a air hole in it, bleed hole. Usually you'd have a valve on those to adjust them, but that works real good. It keeps feeding all the time, never plugs up. Then here's some of the extra pieces. There's flat belt pulleys for it. This is none of this really gets paint, just some edges. The knobs I sandblasted all this cast iron. These pieces are aluminum. This is the dial for engaging the threads. That's just aluminum. I put that in the water blast cabinet. Oh, I missed a part. Look at there. Cover. I got enough paint I can finish that. I only used 2 cans of spray paint to clean everything. Here's the screw rod for doing the threading. There's the rack for feeding it. This is basically the box of parts, and these are all the bushings I took out. I've ordered every single bushing to replace in this thing. I just bought them online aftermarket. There's the spindle shaft, and the rest of the stuff's in here. And I took all the bolts over the last few days that bolts everything together, and I zinc plated most of the hardware. Some of the things like the knobs for the hand crank wheels, I ended up nickel plating them. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, is just cleaning and getting this stuff ready for paint. Some of this stuff I had all primed up last week. The rest of it I finished off today. So as far as the airplane goes, it's kind of getting down. Let's see, last Friday night here, it was down in the 40s for a low. It's still been pretty decent. Today it was probably low 70s, a little more humid. There's the paint I used, this Rust-Oleum. It's supposed to be aluminum, but it looks more silver than aluminum. It's actually a little brighter than I expected it to be. So there's a quick gear change handles, but I tore everything apart. There was about 6 or 8 small gears in the unit that were damaged. Tailstock, I still have to strip that down. That can be done kind of last. But as far as the ball bearings and the spindle, I'm going to keep. There's the pulley. It's all blasted, cleaned up, ready to go back in. I'm probably not even going to bother painting that. That'll get a V-belt off of the motor pulley. That's down there. Got the wrong pulley on it. Should be a double step pulley on there. So I'll probably have to end up making that. But that's a 1-horse motor that'll run this thing. Tailstock again. And then I've got a nice lamp here. I'll have to strip that all down. Probably replace the cord, straighten out the hood. There, it's all bent. But that's a nice heavy-duty piece that's originally attached to the machine. And here's some tool bits and such, and this other one. All this stuff came with it. It came with some quick change collets and a 4-jaw chuck and dead centers, live centers, just a whole bunch of rusted stuff. So all this will be cleaned over time. It has the old-fashioned tool bit holders, these styles. You got lefts, rights, and centers. I'm not going to be using any of that junk. I'm going to put a quick change tool post on it, the size AXA, I believe. So, just like I did on the little lathe here, it's going to be one of these, but bigger. Same thing, and I can actually use these bits in it too, and then these are some of the gears. These were a couple extra gears that came with it, but this is this hub has to be cut off, and it needs to be bored, and this needs to be inserted in there, bushing put in it, and then needs to be pinned, and that's one of the set of gears that's bad. I've got 2 sets of these that are bad. So I already got this gear, new gear. I got to order 1 more of these. These were some extra parts that came with it. But some of those gears are pretty stupid price. I mean, these things here, they're selling for like $40 to $50. Some are as high as $70 for that little gear. And these ones here are generally same thing. I mean, like around $30 a piece. Well, I found some on Amazon. This one here is like $9. And then there's a set of 22s. This is a 32. The 22 teeth, they're like $11 a piece. So I need 2 of those and 1 more of these, and I'll have all the gears. I ended up buying some gears from a guy in Hawaii. I needed some 40 tooth sprockets, and that's what these are, 42s. Well, it turns out the guy had 6 of these, different size bores, keyed and non-keyed, and a pair of smaller 36 tooth gears that I don't really need. And then after I purchased them, he sent me 2 miter gears with it too. He originally had these all listed for like $23 free shipping from Hilo, Hawaii, and he sent it basically by priority mail. And then he came back with an offer, seeing that I was watching them, and offered them to me for $20. So that was a steal. So now I've got 6 of these. I need 2. So I'll clean them up and cut them down, because they don't need these hubs. I don't need these hubs. This sprocket, when it's cut down, fits inside of here. Fits on the inside of that, and then the 22 tooth goes in there. So, got to do a little machining. I'll use my little lathe here to build these up. So, all in all, wasn't a bad deal. I only gave $300 for the whole machine. It physically ran. It was dirty, rusty, it was in pretty poor looking condition. but everything physically worked. There's some of the bushings in here were worn out, and that's how the gears got damaged. All the gears that were damaged are in this quick change. That's what those handles go to. Those handles have a shaft that goes through that end there, and it pins into these holes for your different gear changes for different speeds and threading. So, and then this is, like I say, the mounts for the motor. The motor physically mounts on this piece. And there's adjustments on this to tighten the V-belt. That's the V-belt guard. And it goes to a counter shaft, and I had to buy 3 different shafts to replace. The 3/4 inch shaft for this pulley was worn from the bearings that ride inside of this. So I got all new bushings for all these. But that shaft was worn on these 2 bearings because it probably didn't get oiled enough. So, and those are cheap, McMaster-Carr. That was just a plain shaft, no key. There's a 7/16 little shaft in here that was keyed. That was bad from bearings. And then there's another 5/8 shaft down here that's keyed to run those things through, the quick change. So I've already bought all the shafts, bought all the bearings. So this was the biggest thing. Got all the bolts all nickel plated and zinc plated, so everything's basically ready to start go back together. Some of these things I got tape on, like this here. I got to peel all the tape. This stuff dries fast. It was like 15 minutes and it was dry. The white primer I used from them guys was really slow going. This peg leg, that thing was extremely rusted out bad. You can still see all the pitting in it. And it was that bottom, you couldn't even see anything. Those holes were completely plugged from rust. So there's a part of the machine, the motor mount sits on that, sits on a rubber pad, and then there's rubber pads that mount here. See, is it there? Something like that. But it's the motor and pulley assemblies is isolated from the head unit with rubber bushings. I think it's back on this corner here. There's 2 rubber bushings on there, rubber bushing on there, so it eliminates any vibrations from the motor into the main part of the lathe. So all in all, $300 worth, and I've probably only spent maybe $150, $200 for some gears and extra parts to put it all back together. So I'll probably have less than $600 into it. The biggest thing is going to be seeing how much these ways are worn. I haven't really looked at them real close, but most of the wear, if anything, is going to be right here in this section because the spindle head mounts there. So I'm going to go ahead and button it up for the day. This stuff's dry enough now I can handle it. I'm going to restack it somewhere else, get this table out of the way, get the Corsair back in here and button it up for the night. And I'll call it a day. It might be a little while before I do any more work on that. I'm going to try and get this lathe up and running. Once this thing's done and fixed, I'll be using it on this propeller hub maybe over the winter because I need to do a nice precision bore on these. Everything's been machined undersized, and then there's bearing pockets in the back that I got to machine, and I'll set up a tool on there so I can use it and bore it. And then all these holes here need to be cleaned up, and you know, this thing won't fit on the prop shaft because it's a little small, undersized, and probably a little out of round. That's the thing with the CNC, you can't make perfect holes with them. And then this will get trued up for the rings for the electrical contacts for the brushes. So, but yep, I got to get that panel painted there. That's the gear cover for the side of the spindle. I missed it. So get some throw some paint on that, get everything back in the garage. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week, folks. Sorry about the delays, but this thing just popped up out of the blue as going up in sale, on a yard sale, and the guy gave me first bids on it, so I had to jump. All right, that's going to do it for this week's update. Maybe I can have some more news for next week, but it's not probably going to be on the Corsair. It's just going to be on getting this lathe together. All right, folks, that's going to be it for this week. As like always, feel free to leave any comments, questions, or concerns, and I'll answer them as they come through. Okay, for now, this is Dino Don out.